that means. So let's look at a text for a moment that has been reinterpreted. So in Leviticus, it says that a man should not lie with another man as they would with a woman. That's in the text, right? It has always been looked at as anti-gay. By the way, there's no text about women relationships, queer relationships between women, because men could not imagine they wouldn't be at the center. Could not imagine that that might be a possibility. Really, truly, there is not. There's 3 texts around lesbianism, but they just, part of it was that they define sex as penetration. So that is, again, the other part of this whole piece. But this text is always, oh my God, just so difficult, right? It's a place where people who want to in any way engage, anti-gay rhetoric can point to potentially. But now this is the way that we can understand the text. So what does a amazing modern scholar say? So there's a Rabbi Cohen, and he, not the one that's in town, one that's at HUC, he said, well, actually, what it's saying is something very different and actually encourages people to be who they are. What does that mean? It means that if you're in a relationship with a man, don't make it heterosexual normative, right? You have a different kind of physical relationship. And so don't make somebody into someone they don't want to be. Don't try and fit into the roles of a heterosexual normative society. And you're like, all of a sudden, it actually is a celebration of gay relationships, not anti. And for me, and you haven't changed a word in the text. You haven't changed a word. So again, pushing the text can really help us in many ways have a different relationship without having to manipulate, scalpel out the things we don't like, rather lean into the things that are difficult and figure out how we can understand them differently. I believe that is truly, it's modern world, but it is something that women have been doing for a long time as leaders. And so we now kind of create it as a normative piece. But those are the kinds of things that are pushing the boundaries that I believe has something to do with women in Judaism. And then I see the last is the evolutionary. I want to keep it open for questions. And the evolutionary is basically saying, in my view, Starhawk and others, look, Judaism is a patriarchal tradition. It destroyed the matriarchal world that peeps out every once in a while of priestesses in the Torah. That if you can find all the matriarchal religious tradition, Rebecca, when she leaves, Rachel, not Rebecca. There we go. Rachel, when she leaves, she's sitting on a figurine that is a matriarchal tradition of having kind of a figurine and asking for fertility and things like that. Women used mirrors that were often used in fertility rituals. The priestesses actually came out and did different rituals in the temple in Jerusalem. Like there are a lot of it that peeks out, right? But there's a group of people that say Judaism's patriarchal. It destroyed all the matriarchal, and it has forever. So if that is your perspective, then there's kind of nothing you can do about it, right? If everything's patriarchal, which I'm not saying it's not, but they're just saying you got to destroy it. You got to go back to matriarchal and not even engage it and actually punish the Jewish tradition for that patriarchy. And that's going too far for me, but that's not for everybody. I can sort of see a variety of different things that might be, I can engage in the critique. I just can't walk away from it. So I think for me, that isn't an answer, but that is an evolutionary perspective that I think looking at sort of the issues of women in Judaism can bear some kind of analysis that for me is one step too far, but is there. And so you have the palette of the different kind of spectrum of responses to women in Judaism. Like I said, women can look like, it can say that women can't do X, Y, or Z because she's menstruating, because she is not, in that world. She's not in the public realm. She's in the more private homebound realm. But so that's there without question. But then you have Yael and Deborah, the judge, who judges that, asking a man to fight off the enemy. The man says, nope, not going to do this. Okay, I'm going to turn. Then God's going to give the enemy to a woman. And Yael is the woman who is the warrior. And she, sure enough, saves the Israelite people by killing our enemy, feeding him cheese and milk. He goes to sleep and she puts a tent pin through his head. A little gruesome, but a warrior nonetheless. So, we have all of those different things, right? And I think it's a mixed bag, and I'm not going to try and make it sound better or worse than it is. It just is. And now we are the bearers of the legacy. And so what are we going to do with it in the 21st century and beyond? So I am going to conclude at that point. And